You were born into a certain class. You're not supposed to break out of that. If this guy right here is hormonally optimized and this guy right here is not, this guy is going to beat you at life. They have more stamina, they have more energy, they look different, right? They come across it. The energy level is different. Any way we can get our brand in front of somebody, in my opinion, is guerrilla marketing. That's not your standard, like I'm going to do a magazine, a billboard, or a commercial. Literally knocking on doors to say, hey, you know, we're new in town. Come check out our business. The one thing that I would be willing to bet on is that until the day that I die, the part of marketing that we've been discussing today will.
Welcome back to another episode of the Wealthy Creator Podcast. I am your host, Justin Berry, and today I got somebody special for you all, somebody that is really doing some really amazing things in his industry. I want you all to really dive into what some of the things he says, because this is going to be a little different than what you've seen in previous episodes. He has some really unique ways of marketing and running his businesses. And so this guy, man, he is what's considered now the chief evangelist of his business. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but he is also, he also has the number one or the fastest growing vitality centers in the country, which is very impressive with how booming that business is starting to happen nowadays. So I introduce to you all Carlton Washington. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you for stopping through, man. It's a pleasure having you, man, because I think, there's going to be a couple things that happen in this episode. One, people are going to learn about you and your business and everything that you have going on. They're going to learn a little bit about their health. I'm going to ask some questions that I got about it. And then they're also going to learn how people can tend to make shifts with their businesses and their companies. I think there's a very valuable lesson in not getting stuck in what you're doing and figuring out new ways and creatively pleasing yourself and fulfilling yourself while doing it.
Yes.
And as we talked earlier off camera, that's some of the things that I heard you say, and I'm really interested to hear your future plans and how you're going to go about it. But first, I got to ask, because you're in a business of the anti-aging, health and wellness business. How old do I look to you?
I got to see you look like you're in your 20s.
I like it.
I'll be honest.
I like it. Come on. Right. I'm 35.
Okay.
All right. I turned 35 in September. But that's always good to hear. And I think I asked you that because I did a little research and I've seen things where you're like, there's certain things about people and how they live and their health.
Right.
That tell you, from what they look like, how old they are and how they feel and how they look.
Absolutely.
I feel great. And to be honest, and you can tell me what may have caused this or what may have played some factor, I feel better now in 35 than I did at 30. 30, I was kind of trying to figure life out, right? But now that I got something going for myself and there's an actual, path to some success, I feel much better.
Right.
So tell me though, what are some of the things that you have seen that may play a factor in people's, wellness and their youth as far as their look?
Well, I think you just hit it on the head, a couple different things. I mean, one, you just talked about being fulfilled in your career, so that's a big part of it, right? How we feel on the inside is also reflected on the outside. Our internal health is also reflected on the outside. So typically I find that you can't have one without the other. Mm-hmm. And, like I was telling you before the show, I mean, one of the reasons I'm here and doing podcasts now is actually because what I found is that, it's not just all about making money, right? You can make a lot of money and still not feel well, right? And so being that I've been in the entrepreneurial space for the last 10 years, head down, made a lot of sacrifices, go, and then getting a reward for that.
Yeah.
And then having some time to think about that afterwards. You hear people talk about this all the time, but going through that process and being at the end of it, having a little pot, and then still being able to have some future successes in business, I will tell you that I don't think that that's what makes you feel good. I don't think having a lot of money is what makes you feel good. It's maybe what you can do with that money or how you use the money to help maybe your family, yourself, or others, or to put yourself in a place that you're doing productive work within a field that you enjoy or feel fulfilled with. Yeah. But if you don't have that, the money can really actually cause you to be miserable.
Yeah, it's like the old saying of more money, more problems, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to necessarily be dramatic problems per se. It's just that it can shift your mind. It can shift the way people act around you. It can shift your standard of living to a point that you get put into a bubble and you forget about the way you used to live and how other people are living. It can, all these things can happen and change your perspective on life. And then you think that you have to go to a 5-star restaurant per se, just to have a good meal. You know, that's, you know, a lot of people, you start thinking like that, or you have to have a certain kind of car just to get to the other part of town. And you just start forgetting like, hey, I used to get across town in a bus. Yeah. And my favorite meal is the Jamaican hole in the wall spot, you know, that cost me, you know, $10.
Right.
You know, like, and so I think fulfillment is really, really the goal and the key here. And I think that also goes into anti-aging, because people who fulfilled in their daily lives seem to live longer and have better quality life. You know?
No, that's so good. And I think that's it's a point to be made in that, because again, like I said, I feel way better now than I did when I was kind of going through it. But another point you're making is like, don't forget where you came from, right? Like, don't forget what it took to get there, right? Because to me, what it took me to get to this point, it's going to take me to go even harder to get to the next point. But I feel better about it. I feel different about it.
That's a recent epiphany I just had as well, because I was scared to death that we just did a transaction with my company. Okay. And I was scared to death the day after. I was like, well, what's going to happen to my mindset the day after we get paid? Yeah. You know, I was scared because of exactly what you said. I'm like, well, in order for me to do more or to grow what I have, it's going to take that hustle that I had when I was just trying to get there. Right. And I'm definitely afraid of losing it. And so thank God I didn't. Now my mind's actually working twice as hard. Like, hey, what's next? Let's go. But I see it all the time. People do forget where they come from a lot of the time. And I saw it happening in myself, because we reside in Boca Raton, Florida. Now I live in Parkland, Florida. Okay. But if anybody's familiar with these places, if you don't leave these places, you know, it's very common to get caught up in a bubble where everything is nice every day. Every restaurant's nice. The schools are nice. The people look nice. You know, You go to a traffic light. You know, I remember going to a traffic light one day, taking a kid to school. At every corner was a Lamborghini Urus at the light.
That's like, and I don't want to cut you off, I'm sorry, but that's like a South Florida thing, huh? Like, wellness, health, and glamour is like so it's been a few times now that we went down to Miami for different conferences. And a lot of times when we go places, we try to organize like podcasts and meetups and things with people that are in town. Yeah. And I just remember like we did a meetup at a restaurant outside of like a little lounge bar place. And like 4 of the cars pulled in were all Ferraris. And then the next group of guys that came in were all in Lamborghinis. And I was like, wait a minute, like, is this, they all look like they were on steroids and jacked up. And I was like, is this a part of what we're doing here? Like, is this just a part of this lifestyle of Florida?
It's a South Florida thing, man. Okay. And it's a bubble. And if you are not conscious and you're in that bubble, you can get caught. You can get trapped in that. And it's a toxic mentality, honestly, man, because look, I like nice stuff. I'm a car guy. I like that type of stuff too. But it starts to become really superficial, and it starts to eat away at your soul, man. In a way, you start to, you see people doing things and living for these things. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, I don't care what they're showing you. Truth of the matter is, man, I think there's a lot of darkness behind that. A lot of sadness, a lot of depression. And you look. Once you get a Lambo, there is really nothing above that. Yeah. What do you do next? Maybe a Bugatti or something like that. But there's really nothing above that. And then you get that thing. And I remember my mechanic when I used to live in Atlanta always told me, he's like, they're all just pieces of crap metal. He's like, all of it. 10 years from now, that's a piece of junk. 5 years from now. And so, it's a bubble, man. And I found myself getting caught up in that a little while ago. And I realized, like, you got to snap out of this, man. Yeah. And the way I do it is by volunteering and by working in communities that need help. Because it reminds me, like, hey, bro, like, this could be you. This could be your kids. Yeah. All this stuff could go away. And if you don't have that balance, you could just turn it to something you don't really recognize. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Is that something that you experienced after you saw the success of the business? Midway.
Or is it something? Okay. Tell me more about that revelation. Tell me more about the revelation of that, and when you realize, like, okay, I need to watch my kind of environment and what I'm intaking all the time.
So yeah, I mean, when I started my business, I just moved to South Florida, and I had just I was coming out of bankruptcy, out of Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. I was operating on nothing but cash. I had no credit cards. I couldn't get credit cards, anything like that after you filed bankruptcy. And so I was building myself again at that point. And so, I took the risk, started a business with my partner, toiled through those, first year and a half. We actually got success a little earlier than most, about a year and a half, 2 years. And then at that time, I went out and bought me a S-Class. I'd never gone out and bought a
you were in South Florida at this time? In South
Florida, yeah. Okay. The business just took off. Went out and bought me a nice car. I'm living in, and then I moved to Boca Raton. And then I'm going out in Boca, Miami. Everything's nice, always. And one day I went to my mother-in-law's house, and I had been there in a while, and she lives on a different part of town or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I went to this part of town, and I went to go get some food at like a little carry out, and I hadn't been at like a carry out, like in a long time. And I sat there and I was like, damn, dude, like you got caught up. Like in terms of the demographics that you're hanging out with, you're only around these kind of people. And so now you're not even giving any consideration to other people's plights and to how other people are dealing. And I felt like, I was like, this is scary because I could see I'm becoming disconnected, and I would never want to become something like that because I didn't come from where I was at the time. Yeah. And I wasn't even appreciating it like I should to be at that place. And so I was like, hey, I told my wife, I was like, I got to start doing some more like volunteer work and stuff like that, and getting out of this and getting my kids out of this environment too. Because I've even seen it in my youngest. It's like she, if not corrected and not exposed, she can go down that route, Oh
yeah. How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
I have a 7-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 23-year-old.
Okay. So for me, it's funny. Like, I come from Chicago. I moved to Vegas in 2018. Yeah. I had $3,000 to my name when we moved. Half of that went to the first month's rent. Right. The other half was probably gone after the first month. Right. I was getting ready to start the police academy here for Metro when I tore my patella tendon. And so it was like my wife had to take the drive across the country by herself. I had to figure out what I was going to do next, because obviously it's going to be tough trying to get to an academy with a torn, with a busted knee. But what I learned in that time is, like, one, God's got a plan for you, and it wasn't this, right? Like, and either I was going to, and I felt it early, but I was like, this is what I want to do. My dad was a 30-year cop. Right. That's what I knew. So I was like, I'm going to do it, and it's going to provide for my house. At the time, my son was only 1 year old. But I remember, and in hindsight, thinking back, I just remember thinking to myself when I was kind of trying to get back up on my feet, was like, there's something else for me. And I had to be humbled enough to know, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm moving to Vegas. I'm going to get this job that's going to be able to pay the bills. We're going to be okay out here living sunshine and palm trees, right? Especially coming from Chicago. And then I was like, no, you're getting ready to have to work this up all over again. And he's reminding you that this is who I am. Like, be sure that you're serving before you're trying to serve yourself. Right. And I hear some of that in the things that you're saying. Like, one way for you to serve is to go to a community that needs it. Right. Right. Is that how you got into the anti-aging business, into the vitality business?
No, not at all. But it's funny that you say that, because I actually had the same thing happen to me when I moved to South Florida before I started my business. Major back injury. I was put on my back. And I honestly think that when things like that happen to people, I really think they're like opportunities. Yeah. And a lot of the time when you get put on your back, and that's the first time you've had in maybe a very long time to sit there stuck and think about, like, what the hell is going on in my life? Yeah.
There's nothing but thoughts. Right. All you have in that moment are your thoughts, because you need help doing everything. Yeah. Right. And so you have so much time to think about what's next and how you got here and everything that you go through. So many emotions, man, but it's for the better. If you know how to, I think too, it takes certain individuals to be able to come out of it.
Well, you have to have, it's about your mindset prior. And if you're able to recognize and be aware of what's happening to you. It's actually happened to me multiple times over the last 10 years. Okay. Where it was like, I got told to go sit down, and hospitalized and things of that nature. And you're like, damn. And it helped my relationship. It helped my marriage. It helped me get perspective. I don't want it to happen again.
Yeah, right. I don't need this training again, right?
But it's helped.
Yeah.
And but no, in terms of getting into this business, I got into this business as a patient.
Okay.
And I tell guys this all the time. Like, go get your testosterone levels checked. And I just happened to be at a time in my life where I was like in my 20s going into my late 20s going into my 30s, and I'm working a corporate job. I'm looking to my left, I'm looking to my right, and I'm like, damn, like we're all the same age. I don't want to look like these guys, man. Like I don't want to be like these guys.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert. I like to go out. I like to have a good time. I like to party at the time. And like I have friends who are like, I'm tired. I don't want to go. I don't feel the same. And so I saw this happening to my peers, and I was introduced to testosterone therapy. And so I was like, whatever. If this really does what you guys say it does, I'm going to try it. So I went down to this clinic. I got tested. They put me on therapy, and next thing you know, I got my life back, man. Like I'm working out. I'm feeling good. My libido's through the roof. My mood is. My confidence back. Everything. Yeah. My body looks different. And now I'm separating myself from my peers. And now I'm not feeling lazy. I'm not just going home and sitting on the couch and drinking a beer. I'm like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And so that was in the back of my head for a while.
I'm sorry, was this before or after you started the business?
This is before. I was working a corporate job, man.
Okay. This is before the business, and this is
I'm just a patient. I'm just a guy that was introduced to a therapy that changed my life.
Yeah.
And it was very impactful.
That's interesting. And the reason I asked that, and I wanted to be sure, because I think that part of that, right, like maintaining your health and figuring out, like really having that epiphany, like, oh, this will work for me, this will help me, it changes also you as the businessman.
Yep.
Right. Ryan, who, is who I produce for and I spend a lot of time with, he not too long, maybe 6 to 7 months ago, decided to go all in on his health. Like he was always he's a professional baseball player. So he was always healthy and he worked out daily and did everything he was supposed to do on that aspect. But he wanted to try what I like, the body hacking and things like that, and understanding it more. And so one day he walks in and I go, Ryan, you own one today. Like, what's up? Like, your energy's crazy. He's like, peptides, baby. And he laughed and walked off. And at the time I didn't think nothing of it. And then he goes, no, I'm doing it all. Like so I was like, all right, man, tell me more. And that's when I started to get really, kind of, my interest increased because I was watching what was happening, to him and his energy. And then I watched what it did also for the business from an aspect of he had so much energy that he got back involved in every aspect of the business.
So that's what it's all about. And what I tell people is this. First of all, at my company, we don't sell.
Okay.
We just simply educate.
Yep.
And that's where our success comes from, because we're not pushy. And we just tell you, hey, look, go somewhere, do your due diligence, do your research. But what I tell you is this. We have you here and we have you be here. If you guys are the same makeup, everything's the same, but this guy right here is hormonally optimized and this guy right here is not, this guy is going to beat you at life, at everything, at work, at home, at play, at recovery, everything. You cannot compete with this person. And so I think what a lot of people are realizing, maybe Ryan realized this as well, is in our arenas as well, the level of competition has also increased. So what I'm saying is that if I'm going against you, right, and we're going for the same spot, and there's only so many spots, you just trying to do it on your own way, you're just eating whatever you want, doing whatever you want, and me sitting here, measuring my metrics on HRT, peptides and all this stuff, you could never compete with me over here. It just never, it's just physically impossible, right?
Yeah.
Because that person's going to wear you out. They have more stamina, they have more energy, they look different, right? They come across it. The energy level is different. And so the level of competition out there is extreme. Yeah. And so I think, guys are realizing like, hey, if I want to stay relevant, I got to stay healthy, man, Yeah. And I think, we're fighting an uphill battle anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you're not paying attention to all these things in the United States, bro, I mean, you're going to suffer. You know? You just randomly picking food to eat from wherever, you don't have a plan. you're not drinking like the basics, drinking water, maybe just taking vitamins, stuff like that. You can't compete over here, man.
Yeah. You're going to struggle.
Yeah.
I got to ask you too, because I think we hear a lot of it nowadays, especially on social media and on these platforms. Everybody's into it now, right? Like a couple years back, it was all about the workout and getting in the gym and filming yourself in the gym all day. Now it's more of the body hacking and everything else that helps you get that extra push. Just to get back to what really should be considered the normal health, right? But I don't hear often on the impact that it has on women. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So in our business at Forever Young, one of the biggest things is we're 100% about practicing what we preach. We want our franchisees to do the same. And so I say that to say that whether it's a woman or a man, we want women and men in our business and in our industry to do every single product and service that's medically cleared for them and that they need. And so for the women, a lot of people still are unaware or ignorant to the fact that women sometimes, or a lot of the time more than men, struggle hormonally. And especially as they're getting to their late 30s. And especially if they've taken birth control, which is really a negative hormone that they're taking. And no one's even reading or talking about those side effects. Yeah. They're just like, I just don't want to have a kid. Here's a, So yes, women benefit greatly from hormone replacement. My wife has been on hormone replacement for years. And I would she would probably say the same thing. Our relationship would not probably last without these therapies, because you become a different person. You go through menopause, everything changes. Yeah. And, and a lot of the time, if you're ignorant to this, if you don't know that there's another way of life out there, a woman might just think this is just normal. Yeah. So now she's coming home. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to do anything. I don't really feel like going out. I'm tired. I'm lazy. And if the mate, if the husband, or significant other is not on that same level, then what happens? Relationships don't work, the divorce, breakups, and all these things. When all that's really happening is that this person is transitioning into another person, another version of themselves, which is not optimized. So if you got your optimal self, you can keep that optimal relationship with your partner for a very, very long time. And so, we give an option for that, and it changes people's lives. Yeah. And it's not snake oil. It's 100% works. Yeah. That's interesting, man. Because like I said, you hear so much about men, and in every ad that there's out there, the guy's crazy jacked, and you see all those things, but you never really get to hear the impact that it has on women. So that's good to hear too. And to further kind of make your point, it's also a really bad thing if that woman's going through that change, and like you said, she doesn't want to go out after getting home and doesn't want to do anything. But then you also got the man that's like, I don't want to do anything either. So now you got two people just laid up. So whether they're in good faith with each other and they're feeling good about each other or not, that still can't be good for the household. Now, it could be good for a relationship because now they're both too stuck to do anything bad, so it might prolong the relationship. But it's not good for the household. And it's one thing if it's just you guys and you don't have any children, but it's damn near child abuse if you guys do have kids and you let yourself go like that. You let your kids, whether it's a daughter or a son, watch you. Yeah. That you're sending a message. Yeah, for sure. And then next thing you know, we're passing the baton, and now they're doing this. And so it's 2-3 generations, if you're lucky enough to even see the one after that, that has been trained to do this. Yeah. And so it's a lifestyle and it's a mindset, and it's a really, really damaging one if you do that with children. Yeah.
No, so true. So true. So everybody that's listening, look into it at the very least, I think.
Yeah. You don't got to come to Forever Young.
Yeah, just look into it. Or you can go to Forever Young. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like it's no pressure. It's not even a sales pitch. I mean, I don't care, where you're listening. I mean, you could be in California. We don't operate in California. Yeah. Go get yourself tested and go find someone that can help you. Yeah. And then tell a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get educated, right? If nothing else. But I got to ask too, and this is for the skeptics out there, because you hear all the great things. And I haven't heard anything negative about it. But if you're honest with me, can there be any negative impact?
So first and foremost, I'll tell you this. I would not sell or stand behind anything that I wouldn't give to my children, to my parents, family, and friends. My dad, my mother my dad's still on therapy. My mom has been on and off before. My wife is consistently on. I've been on since I was 28 years old. So I don't even know how many years that is. I just turned 44.
Wow.
And I have my friends, family. So I'm basically what I'm saying is that without abuse, I have not seen negative side effects. I've been in business for 10 years and I have not seen a negative side effect. I have not seen a death caused by this. I have not seen a disease or anything like that come from this. And it's 10 years of friends. Look, we are the face of our brand. So if we had, medical complications popping up, deaths, illness, I mean, that would be on me personally.
Right.
So absolutely. And like anything though, I would not abuse any of these things.
Yeah.
You do what's recommended. And the cool thing is we do frequent lab work.
Okay.
A very comprehensive and extensive lab work as well. So we're actually proactively managing people's health so that if something were going on, we want to catch it ASAP.
Gotcha.
And so, no, I haven't seen any negative side effects of HRT. I've only seen positive, and I would never, ever give up being on testosterone therapy for as long as I'm alive.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to be in the world and not be able to be on testosterone if I had low T.
Wow, that says a lot. That says a lot because I think that was when Ryan was kind of going through it. That was my only concern. Is like, okay, what if I do it and then stop? What impact will it have if I stop?
So if you're going to somewhere that's reputable and that has ethics and morals, you're not going to put you on HRT unless there's a need, and they're not going to put you on HRT unless they've done blood work and done a physical. And so if your number that we're looking for on testosterone is low enough for you to be eligible, then that's ethically fine to move forward and no one's losing sleep at night. But if you came in and you're high level or mid-range testosterone and we're like, yeah, you should go on this right now, that's not the right thing to do because what it is we're providing you a therapy to boost your standard of living and your quality of life. If you do stop HRT, what happens is you go back down.
Right.
And so I don't feel bad about that if you're down already. But if you give someone testosterone and then you stop their production, that's like a ethical and moral issue and we don't do that in our business.
Gotcha. No, that's great. Those are I know those are questions that people are going to have. I know that's what people want to know about it. So I wanted to get that out the way and educate the people.
If you have low testosterone, you have nothing to lose. You're already losing.
You're already losing.
You're 100%. So
no, that's great. That's so true. So I saw an interview where you began to discuss your marketing. And one of the terms used was guerrilla marketing. Can you first define it for me, for those that don't know and understand it, and then tell me about some of the strategies that you've used for the company that you have seen work effectively? Yeah.
So, guerrilla marketing obviously really is a term that came from warfare, and hopefully people are educated enough about this. But if not, guerrilla warfare is referred to really warfare that doesn't have rules. Jumping out the trees, like you're getting ambushed. It is not, we're facing each other with muskets. It is whatever it takes to kill the enemy.
There's no square up.
Right.
I'm sneaking you. That's just what it means.
Yes. And so, my background when I went to Howard and in DC was really organically started in guerrilla marketing. And that was with events, with music, hip hop and parties.
So what's the real HU?
Howard, all day. Howard. I mean, don't get me distracted.
Every time I do that to somebody, they like,
bro, have you seen where Hampton is located? I mean, come on, man.
All right.
Oh my God.
I knew that would get you. Okay.
Anyway, but so really honing those skills back then, and my parents, they were like, you got to get out of school, man. And so I was like, fine, I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to get my ass out of school. But I took those skills that I learned from really hip hop marketing, music industry marketing, and the nightlife, and I just applied them to every other thing that I did. So whether I was in the insurance business or banking or whatever, I would always try to gather large groups of people to get my business across to them or whatever. And so when we started this business, nothing was different. And so what we found is that we went into, my partner and I don't have any medical backgrounds. We're entrepreneurs, and we're going into this space that's dominated by two types of people, in my opinion, which was medical professionals, doctors, And then you also had in our space a lot of boutique style med spas. And what I noticed is that a lot of the boutique med spas were typically owned by women, typically very like pink and champagne and cookies and like
glamorous.
Right.
Yeah.
And very exclusive and kind of snobbish and they had that look, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't fit that. And I'm not a doctor. And doctors are notoriously bad at business. And so we went in and we're like, okay, how are we gonna make money in this business? We're patients of these services. We do hormones. We're interested in keeping our appearance, with the aesthetics and whatnot. And so our way of doing that is to be disruptive. And so is to come for them, and in ways that will shake people up. And so, we would deploy just in our community. We would go literally knocking on doors to say, hey, we're new in town. Come check out our business. Come to our party. We're having cocktails at the office, doing events. We didn't have a lot of money, but what do we have? We're on hormone replacement. We're selling rejuvenation. We got a ton of energy.
Got the energy, yeah.
So we're just going to do events and we're going to be everywhere. And so we're going to be at your nightclub and then we're going to be at your gym the next morning. And then we're going to be at the 5K. And so we're able to cover a lot of ground, that again, a doctor or a wealthy, boutique med spa owner, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
He's too good. He or she's too good to do that, right? So we're covering a ton of ground. Then we're doing things like getting, sign waivers on the street and getting a digital marketing truck and then parking the digital marketing truck in front of our competitor's office and running, specials in front of their office, and you name it, we're trying it, airplanes in the air with banners.
Okay.
Any way we can get our brand in front of somebody, in my opinion, is guerrilla marketing. That's not your standard, like I'm going to do a magazine, a billboard, or a commercial, right?
Yeah.
And if this is the reason it's necessary is because we didn't have any money.
All right.
So you got to figure out, and that's usually where you're seeing guerrilla warfare, right? It's people that don't have, like you see what's going on in Ukraine right now, right?
Yeah.
They're fighting guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
You got like people with jobs, who just went to being soldiers.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's all about. And it's about doing whatever it takes to get market share. And as long as you're not breaking the law, literally just whatever it takes and doing things that most people aren't going to do or are not creative enough to think of, Yeah. And so that's really like a way in which we've grown our business. And it's a lane that we can play in that other people can't.
So have you operated with with those tactics all the entire time, or is it just
time?
Okay, because I know I've heard of people using tactics like that to market their product or their business, but it's usually like a one and done, or it's like a surprise.
Haven't stopped.
Wow.
Haven't stopped.
Yeah.
You can ask anybody. You go check my. I post it all. Our team. You can see 10 years of nonstop in the streets. Yeah. We don't even have to do it.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it. But it's a muscle, right? And so the more you work the muscle, the bigger it gets. And again, and I told this to your friend Brendan, the thing is that people aren't going to do it. Yeah. And I tell people like, look, I'm going to tell you to do all these things right now, but you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because you're lazy, you don't believe it's going to work. People think that there's an easier way with digital new school marketing, but people have been advertising businesses for thousands of years, man. And so why would you take something that's not broke, and stop using it when it costs so much less, and it allows you to have a deeper connection with your audience and your patients or your customers.
Yeah. I want a little quick story. So I did a podcast with a gentleman not too long ago, and one of the clips that came out was me saying that the business card was an old school way of marketing, and that you can be way more impactful online. Obviously, what we teach at Wealthy Creator is the digital marketing and the social media marketing, and I want to make the point that I was not saying that the card is useless. Right? Because I don't think any form of marketing is useless. Right. Getting billboards, paying for sides of trucks, like doing all those things are still effective, especially when done correctly. right? I always say you should tie it in together, right? Like the side of your truck should lead to some type of call to action for them to do something on social media,
Yes.
right? Like there's ways to effectively have impact in that area. But this guy was a real estate dude, door knocks, that kind of thing. I go, while you're spending all those hours door knocking, I got a video that's going to hit 100,000 today, right? That was my only point, right? Like, my watch hours, Ryan Pineda did over 1 million watch hours from his podcast this year. I was like, that's the equivalent. 1.2 is the equivalent to like 150 years or something crazy like that, right? Like it's how much time people are spending with you because everybody's on this platform. I was like, and then you're door knocking door to door, hoping that someone will listen, right? So it wasn't a diss. It was just like, yeah, you should do both. Like, you should have both.
Yeah, that's the secret right there, right? It's and so I don't want to mislead anybody either. Yeah, we do that too, right?
Yeah.
And so my whole point, it's probably the same point you're trying to make, is you in the intro in the show, you're saying, I want to help people learn about different ways of going about business and ways that you're actually going to be successful.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You can't leave anything on the table. So if you have legs and arms and they work and you're that blessed, then and you have social media and you have, your digital going on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's fire on all cylinders here and give yourself the best shot at success, because one of these tools isn't going to work as good as the other, right? But when they're all going at the same time, you're having successes popping up in different places, and you're also developing relationships. And so that's the one thing your digital cannot do alone. You have to be able to shine through and actually build personal relationships, and people are forgetting that. And so an old school person like myself, I'm 44 years old, I'm on both sides.
Yeah, you get to see the middle.
If I got more relationships with you and I got some young dude coming in and they're like the internet king, bro, I still got more weight than you, right? Because I can enter your space, but where it really counts and trust and reputation and all that, you can never negate that.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me too, because I think that's why you're in a very interesting position now, right? You mentioned to me off camera a little bit about your plans, your upcoming things that you want to do, and I really love like you're not afraid of the risk of anything either, right? Like, and no matter how hesitant, no matter what you feel personally, you're going to take that risk. You did it going from corporate to your own business, and now you're moving into spaces that and making new transitions. But before you do that, I want to know how important personal branding is for Carlton, right? You're wearing the Forever Young shirt. You've spoken about it, and we kind of discussed it throughout the episode. But what about Carlton as the brand?
Yeah, so you talk about risk. Also, there is the biggest risk that there's a big risk I'm afraid of. The biggest risk I'm afraid of is regret.
Okay.
And is leaving something on the table, wasted opportunity and time.
That's good.
And so that is my biggest fear. And it's not about, making $1 billion or anything like that. I'm not that guy, but in terms of personal branding, I think it's extremely important, because we were just talking about reputation.
Yeah. And
so, if you're able to introduce people to what you have to offer, and it's backed up by reality, a good reputation, and competency to be able to do the things you say, I feel like that creates a new lanes and new opportunities, and that's the name of the game. One of the things that I do see in this space, and I've told a friend of yours this, and I've told many people I've met in the digital side of the world, is that authenticity, backed up by diligence, research, reputation, and credibility, is still very, very rare. Most of the people that I meet behind the scenes in the digital space have been extremely fraudulent people who have, and the ones who have had success have been people who have been able to sell dreams to people, to the masses, give them some false hope, and then, they're out of here.
Yeah.
And then they're managing the reputation digitally or whatever. And so I would never want to be someone like that. And I don't really know exactly what is next for me personally, but I feel like, in my own personal beliefs, universal law, whatever you want to call it, by creating new relationships and also by really having, high ethical standards in terms of the way you operate in business. I feel like if you're able to get your messaging across, new opportunities will present themselves in due time, just like we were talking about the injuries that we've had and these timeouts.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest goal for me with personal branding. I think it's huge, but I think, personal branding really has to be backed up with something. You need to, your digital resume, needs to be real real life, Yeah,
I mean, one of the questions we always ask is we do like blueprints for people when they come in with their branding. We kind of like tear them apart and build them back up for them to make sense to what they're doing. And one of the questions I always ask is, why should I listen to you? Right? I just want to know, right? Like, and because that is going to be what separates you from the person that's doing the similar thing.
That's a t-shirt right there, bro.
Like, why should I listen? What have you done that gives you any authority? What have you accomplished, achieved, won? What awards have you accepted that means that I should listen to what you're saying and follow you? Give you any kind of influence?
I wish somebody would ask me that, and because that's what it's all about. And I think that's a great question. Actually, I'm going to steal that because
take it. Everybody at some point, even like those listening, those watching, ask yourself, why will people listen to me? Right. I had to do it for myself. So, a little backstory. I started off here with Ryan as just his podcast editor. 3 months in, he's like, I want to go all in on this team. I want to make this content space more of a business for myself so that we can structure it like almost a film production. Right. We got roles together. He offered me the position to be, kind of oversee the team. I was like, okay, now I'm producer. Now Justin has to get used to being the authority, giving, jobs out and understanding how to hire and understanding like all these things that I just didn't have to do before. I was operating kind of as that solopreneur where I'm working for myself and working to accomplish certain things every day. I didn't have to worry about other people. Then that shift happens. And then later on, another shift happens. He goes, you're going to speak on stage. What are you talking about? I'm from behind the camera, bro. I don't get up in front and you're going to do a podcast. All right, I'm not used to that either, but these are all things that I'm with the challenge. Like, all right, I'll try it at least. If I fail, I fail, but I don't lose anything from that aspect. I know what my skill is. So in all of that, I go, I got a podcast. Why would people ever listen to me? All right. Oh, Justin, you got to tell them what you've done. How many views you produced for this man? How much money has he gotten from the content? Right. How many sales has the content led to? How many leads? Like all these things and reasons why people would listen to me. And what I learned is that as I talked about it and as he confirmed it and as other people was like, yeah, Justin told me to do this and I did it and it worked. As that started happening, I started seeing the impact that it was having on my authority. So I always try to get that point across to other people. Like, what have you done?
That's funny that you bring this up. I just had this conversation. We just hired 2 new CEOs, and my business partner was just having a heated conversation about this other day. Mm-hmm. Exactly what you're just saying, and it's something that it's really important. Is you're talking about credibility, and you're talking about that answers the question that you asked me in terms of why is personal branding important, and it really bothers me. Again, that's why I keep on bringing this up. It really bothers me. We have some people in our industry. Yeah. We got a guy coming out, I obviously can't say names, but in our industry, coming out bold-faced lying about their numbers, about what's going on. They're basically putting a wax coat on, some BS, man. Mm-hmm. And I've seen multiple people in my space do this. And it's infuriating because I'm like, guys, just check the numbers. It's not true. It's not true. It's a lie. And so I think the counter to that is that you have to be able to share the truth with people, especially if, you do what you do and you do it well, and you have a future that you're pursuing, you got to be able to communicate that. Yeah. And as long as as you got the track record, you got to be able to tout that, and you should, because you're also saving a lot of people, a lot of heartache, a lot of time, a lot of pain, right? Because if someone is looking to do things that come through someone like you and they go to the wrong person, you can get your whole life screwed up, man. Yeah. Or you can lose a whole year of your life, or you're going to lose a lot of money at the least, and I don't have time for any of that stuff, man.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see any of that take place. But it's just important to to recognize, one, who you're investing in, right? And do a little research on trying to figure out, is what they're saying to be true? And then if you're on the other side of that, where you're watching people in your industry, because I see it all the time too. There's so many people that come in and tell me about how to make better content for people. And then I look through their numbers and they got 1 million plus, subscribers, and they can't sell anything. Or they got 1 million followers on Instagram with 3 comments on each post. And one of them is their mom every time. It's like something about that doesn't make sense to me. Right. I know what you're doing, and I know like perception plays a part, and some people just don't care to do the research. But if you're really trying to run a business, which the audience that we're speaking to are all owners and entrepreneurs in their own right, in whatever perspective, field they're in. But with that, you have to build it organically. You have to build it with the right strategies, the right methods, and understand that just now's the time to make the bad videos, to do bad things in marketing where it's not really working well. Now's the time while you're on the come up. Because once you make it to a certain point, all those mistakes will have been made already. You're going to know exactly what it takes to get there. And you will now be able to say, hey, I've been operating this business for 2 years. We've sold this much. We've done this much. We've helped this many people. And it's actual impact on what's happening. Right. I could go get testimonials of people saying, yeah, he's the real deal. He's doing this, right? For those individuals that are just faking it, like if you ask around enough, you'll find out, right? Like there's nobody that can give them that testimonial. Right. If it is someone doing it and it's not real, they probably live with them, right? Like it's not something like legit. And so I just encourage people who are trying to figure out and sometimes feeling like an imposter when it comes to the digital social media marketing, right? Like you are an authority because you know more than others, right? You're trying something and you're learning from it. So you do have some authority, but you keep building that. And now's the time to put out the content and try all these different things so that you can learn it. So it's very important, like, to build that personal brand. I personally believe that the stories that you're sharing with me, the vulnerability that you're giving with, wins and losses, and understanding when you felt a change in yourself, all of those have more legitimacy than anything that you can just push in my face about your product. Right. And so I begin to trust what you're saying. All right. Like, you tell me there's no negative impact after you tell me that you would give it to your kids. Your wife's been on it for so long. Your parents have been like, once you tell me all that, I'm like, okay, this could be a legit thing. Now you have my ear. And so it is about that. That should be how you create when you create this social media marketing. Yeah. And then your guerrilla marketing, man, just get after the guy. Whoever it is, whoever the competition is, just go after him, right?
Amen. Yeah, whatever it takes. I mean, because that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing too. A lot of people don't want to be honest. And I think in the US, we don't be honest. We still have class barriers here. Mm-hmm. Right. So like, it's just, people talk about like India and like the caste system and all that kind of stuff. We have that in the United States. Yeah. If you're born into a certain class, you're not really supposed to transcend that class. Right. And a lot of people aren't being honest with themselves about that. So, a lot of people are going to, these seminars and routines and buying programs. All that. It's like, look, you need to be honest with yourself. You were born into a certain class. You're not supposed to break out of that. Mm-hmm. Right. So what you're looking to do is essentially mission impossible. Mm-hmm. Right. But it can be done. Very few people do it. And people don't want to recognize that part either. Very, very, very few people are doing it. So if you want to do this, it's going to take things that most people are not willing to do for you to break out of your class. Mm-hmm. And I think there's no cheat code. There's no way around it. If you try to, you're simply delaying the results. Yeah. You have to go right through it, and it's not going to be easy. And that's the problem I have with people in the internet space. Is they're not telling people this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, and it's going to suck. Yeah. And it's going to suck for probably years. Yeah. And you don't want to hear that though, right? You want to buy the guy's course or the seminar. He's like, 1 year, 6 months, you're going to be a millionaire. No, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back to your point earlier that you said that there's going to be very few that takes action.
Yes.
Right. Like, you're going to hear me say this, and I'm going to give you things to do right away. You can go do this right now, but it's going to be very few people that actually take action and go and do it. And I always say the only cheat code is consistency.
Yes.
It's the only cheat code, right? Stay consistent, figure out what you want to do, and just drive at that as long as you can until you see some results. because you're right. There's no other cheat code. There's no other cheat code. Like I get that question all the time. Like, is it the algorithm? Is it this? I'm like, no, your video sucks.
Right.
It's not the algorithm, right? And I always try to tell people to change their frame of mind, right? Like forget the word algorithm, use audience. Because what you're telling me is that the algorithm is doing something that's not in your favor. It's really your audience, right? You're not doing something to reach them, to impact them. And so those are all the things that play a part in that social media content. And I think you and I are aligning on how we see, other individuals out there doing things and working things. So, but to me, you only can be a fraud for so long before it's revealed and it's exposed. Yeah. And now you're trying to figure out ways to kind of manipulate it again. But it's going to come out. It's going to work because somebody can come today and join Wealthy Creator. And if they take action on everything that we teach, but don't see a result, which I'd be very surprised if that happened. But if they were to do that, then they'd have a reason to go, that guy's a fraud.
Right.
But up until that point, if you actually do it, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. And I think, you kind of understand that. What are you seeing for the future of marketing? I think we've seen different shifts, right? Like that old school way of marketing, and then social media kind of comes in and the digital marketing kind of enhances and takes precedent in what everybody's trying to do. What are you seeing in the next 2-3 years with where marketing will go, and how do you plan on being ahead of it?
Well, great question. The one thing that I would be willing to bet on is that until the day that I die, the part of marketing that we've been discussing today will always be relevant. Mm-hmm. And it'll actually be more and more relevant because the opportunity zone is in what you just discussed. And I love the opportunity zone. Opportunity zone is, I know you're not going to do the shit. Yeah. You're not going to do it because you're either because you can't do it, you won't do it, or you're not, again, back to the health part, optimized enough.
I was going to say, right? You're not on T, right?
Right. So you're not going to do it. And so I think there's always going to be a place in that. And it's always going to be, that's going to be the high value part, because when you can pull levers of relationships, that's massive leverage, right? Yeah. But I am seeing digital marketing is a mess right now. Honestly, I mean, social media marketing is a lot of noise. Facebook marketing, in my opinion, has gone down in terms of effectiveness. Okay. People's attention spans have gone down in terms of effectiveness. So I can only assume that AI is going to have a massive impact on marketing, which I believe it already has. I'm not as well educated as probably I should be right now, but I know we're going to be going into that. All the applications are just being rolled out now. So I'm assuming AI is going to be massive in that, but we're going to just be, we're going to want to go wherever the attention is. And so I would assume as you get more driverless cars and things of that nature, we're going to be wanting to market in the cars, market on the screens. It's going to be digital marketing everywhere. I mean, you're seeing the technology with drones right now in terms of the sky, design and stuff like that. I would assume that's going to be turned into marketing. And so I would assume that anywhere you can put an ad, like you see in these movies, Blade Runner, all that stuff, I'm assuming you're going to have floating ads, not like Goodyear blimp, but much, much better. And I think that's where we're going. And then that's probably elementary in terms of what, someone like Elon Musk is talking about with these neural links and all this stuff. So I feel like the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to be doing things we've never done before. I think people are exhausted with ads. I personally am, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, and I run a lot of ads.
You're part of it too.
I'm just kind of exhausted. I mean, I buy stuff that I need or whatever, if I see something, but I think that we're going to have to find new creative ways to not annoy people and get our products and services in front of people's faces, so. How
important do you think being good communicators will take place in
That's the number one thing. And that's actually my number one goal and challenge right now. You just brought up something, as a challenge for yourself, which is the getting on stage. I have not done that. I can speak to, small groups, and I speak to, people in our industry or franchisees, but to get up on stage, I think that's huge. I think there's a lot of leverage in that, and proper communication and being able to articulate points is massive. Look at the success of the people who are able to do that the best, right? Yeah. Whether it's Obama or Grant Cardone, I mean, whether you like them or not, these people are where they are because of one thing, is their ability to communicate. Yeah. So I think it's really important, and that takes a lot of work, though. Yeah. And so that's something right now I'm spending my personal funds on, to get coached on, developed, and I still don't feel that I'm there yet to be able to do what you just said and get up on stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Like I've learned, like everything else, communication is about reps. It's about studying, right? Even speaking on stages and even on the podcast, it's about reps. It's about studying, like everything else. Like I play ball, so like everything for me is like if I can practice enough, I know I can get better at it. And it's about how much time I'm spending doing it, right? So I spend a lot of time watching others communicate, seeing how they ask their questions, seeing how they move a room, right? And grateful to Ryan and what he has going on, because he does big events, WealthCon, he does it 4 times a year. So I get to see all kind of speakers get on that stage and how they deliver. An even better thing for me in the situation I'm in is I travel with him everywhere when he goes and speaks. So a lot of times I get to see, some of the best to do it on there. Like we've had Ed Milet, we've had, I've sat in Grant Cardone's office. We've had all these people that are considered some of the top communicators in the world, and watching them tell their stories and watching them break, really move a room. I'm like, yeah, like this is a skill, this is an art, but this is what's going to separate people as things get so crowded in the marketing space, right? This is what's going to be that separation. So I'm spot on with you on that, man. So I mean, this has been a great episode, dude. Like I really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you coming through, dude. This is, I think people should really, if nothing else, take what he's taught today, take what he said today, and go educate and learn for yourself. Right? Take this information and go do some research on your own, whether it has to do with your health or your business and how you market. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you and support what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, man. And if for me, for my personal brand, I really use Instagram right now as my business card. So it's _ Carlton, CARLTON _ Washington on Instagram. Also LinkedIn, I use that as well. Just my name, Carlton Washington on LinkedIn. For the business, it's Forever Young. That's what the number 4, foreveryoung.com. And but for the personal side, I'm always responsive on Instagram. Working to build that right now, and as we look to branch out and grow this personal brand. So
absolutely, man. Well, it's a pleasure.
Hey,
You'll be able to find everything that he's doing and support him by following him. Every link will be down in the description. It's been another episode of Wealthy Creator. Thank you for tuning in. I can't wait to see you on the next one.